Hi, Taras Pluskin here from the Top Shelf Aquatics farm. Today we're going to be doing a spotlight into one of my favorite copepod species of all time. So, many people are familiar with the harpacticoid copepods that I very often recommend at the store and some of the other videos, the Tisbe benemiensis, the Tigriopus californicus. Today we're going to be spotlighting the third copepod species that we rear here, the Apocyclops panamensis. We'll do a little comparing and contrasting with those other species, and I'll be giving a few reasons why I think that they have their own unique qualities, why I bother to grow them, and why I think that they have some unique applications that maybe the others don't necessarily satisfy. So first thing is that harpacticoid copepods, those first two, Tisbes and Tigriopus copepods, they are the crawlers. They are adapted to crawl on substrates. They will make limited soirees out into the water column to feed and but for the most part, they are on surface area. Think rock, glasswork, biofilms. This is great for a reef tank because we can colonize the tank with these organisms, have them stay alive, some of them be grazed, while the majority, if not somewhat, stay alive and consume detritus, algae, reproduce, etc. The Apocyclops does not nearly have that level of crawling. It's a cyclopoid copepod. It is an open water dweller for the most part. Think of it as a spaceship pepping out there in the open water, consuming suspended algae, suspended bacteria, small ciliates, small rotifers, and the like. So, with this in mind, we can see how there's an apparent drawback to the Apocyclops compared to the others. This one will be consumed by the filtration, consumed by filter feeders, consumed by fish much more aggressively than the other copepods will. So it's more of a direct feed when adding it directly into corals. That's also a benefit. You can guarantee that this copepod can be reared in high densities, and when it's delivered, it's going to be consumed relatively immediately. Whereas that has a little bit of a drawback because it's far less likely to successfully colonize a mature aquarium. It also has some apparent advantages. Let's think about breeding. When it comes to aquaculture and larviculture, Tisbe and Tigriopus copepods they are not the gold standard. Their young are relatively large. Because they cling to surfaces, it's very difficult to deliver them in very, very high concentrations and have the majority of that population in the open water where the larvae will be. With the Apocyclops, it will be available in the open water to be grazed on by whatever clownfish or shrimp larvae you may be catering to. Another thing is that it's a specialized suspension algae feeder, which means it caters directly and greatly to green water aquaculture. We have a bunch of algae and then swimming around zooplankton, the Apocyclops, and then the larvae grazing on it as well. So for that reason, they have a tremendous advantage over the other two for their applications in marine breeding, especially when you consider that a lot of other marine breeding aquaculture operations are done with calanoid copepods. Think Pseudodioptimus pelagicus and Parvocalanus crossorostris. These are great gold standard live feeds, but they are very difficult for the average hobbyist to access, and they go through much more of a boom bust, very sensitive, and require a lot more space. So Apocyclops is a wonderful middle ground for something that's very easy to raise. You can see here that a few 10 gallons can produce many individuals. You can see here that they can be dosed with large amounts of algae, and they will meet and grow and reproduce rapidly in all that algae. But unlike some of those other copepod species like Parvo and Pseudodioptimus, they won't crash. They'll stabilize at a stationary growth of population. So for that reason, Apocyclops is a great direct feed for filter feeders and other corals, things that you want to feed directly. You care a little less about having the micro cleanup crew aspect, and they are superior for marine breeding over the Tisbe and the Tigriopus. And for that reason, everyone's very excited to be working with these, and I look forward to seeing more and more marine species introduced to the hobby, sustainably aquacultured because of Apocyclops. We'll see you next time.